I think for me, I have learnt to really appreciate, particularly, the lead up to Christmas, and Christmas, like Christmas Day and so on itself, becomes almost like the culmination of the time leading up to it. I think as I've matured and learnt more of the actual Christmas story, the story of the Christ child, I've resonated more with the earthiness and the ordinariness of the story. And the reason why that then makes Christmas, even more hopeful for me is it actually gives me something that I can connect to. That means at other times through my life, I have something to hold on to, because I think one of my concerns about how we use the word hope is that it becomes this thing, like it's this package that we've got to somehow, it's there. But in actual fact, the Christmas story actually says to me, there's something much more active. Mary and Joseph, the innkeeper, the shepherds, the wise men, all actually had to make a decision to do something that went almost totally at odds with the world around them. And I think the biggest part for me, and this is probably where Advent comes in, is because the Christmas story actually takes a long time. It actually takes time for Joseph and Mary to walk on the donkey and get to where they're going, and so it says to me that hope is not something that's just positive thinking, but it's actually something that I can resonate with and I can practice at Christmas time, and particularly through the season of Advent, so that at other times in my life during the year, when those messy, ordinary, earthy times happen, I've actually got a story that makes sense to me.
I always think of that, that old Joan Osborne song that was really popular. What if God was one of us? If God had a name, what would he look like, and would you want to see? If seeing meant that you would have to believe it, it goes on. What if God was one of us? And so it just kind of reminds me that in Christmas, that's exactly what happens. God decides to actually become one of us, look like us, smell like us, act like us, be human in that sense, so that we can actually see what it looks like to live a great life here and to live a life kind of in step with God. Christmas is the story that says that God is interventionist. He cares about us, he's for us, he's got a plan, he's going to turn up in real flesh and blood in ways that we can understand and model what it looks like to live now and find your way forward. For me, Christmas is celebrating that moment when God decided to intervene and make it real in a way that I could understand. I suppose that's my thing.
I think mine connects a little bit with that, Steve, in that it's the story of who God engages with. It's Mary, who's a teenager who ends up pregnant and dealing with the shame of her culture and the potential for death. Like the rule was, you're an engaged teenager, you get pregnant, let's take you out and stone you. So it's Mary who's dealing with that. It's the innkeeper, like you were saying, Kath, who are the people who sheltered this family, who were invited to be a part of the story, that family that took Mary and her husband and the whole story in. It's the shepherds who the angels appeared to. These are the lowest class of the people. These are the stinky, smelly ones who are in the fields for a reason. Nobody wants them. It's the wise people who travel from across the world. This is not the religious elite of the Jewish world. These are stargazers and scroll readers going, God is saying something. This is who God chooses to engage with in this story. For me, it's a revolutionary story of hope. And for me, that is such a incredible message of who God, when God engages in the world and when Jesus emerges in the world, who is it in the midst of? It's that crowd. It's me. It's those who are struggling, those who are nobodies. And with all of the Christmas celebrations and church and everything else, I sometimes stop and wonder, where would this story actually be taking place? Would it be taking place in one of our churches, or would it be taking place in a random hotel or somebody's lounge room who's gone, hey, there's a person who needs help? And that's where God enters in.